Okay, I guess we're now live. I'm gonna warn you up front that I'm currently on my fourth alcoholic beverage. That is not just a simple beer; it is liquor, and I've had a smaller glass of Venezuelan rum and Coke, and then I had a glass of Jim Beam, which is whiskey bourbon or bourbon whiskey, whatever, and Coke. Then I had a screwdriver, and now I am on another screwdriver. So I am a bit intoxicated as we do this stream. However, we're going to press on because I imagine, and I'm told that there are a fair few number of people on the major networks that are intoxicated pretty much 90% of the time that they aren't on television. That's one of the main things that you hear about from insiders as it relates to the mainstream media, whether it's Fox or MSNBC or CNN. There's a very clear case that a lot of the people that you see on television are actually alcoholics. And it's likely because they sold out and are now vacuous shells for major corporations. So what I'm going to do is try to make the best of a bad situation where I probably shouldn't have drank this much before doing this stream. However, things are what they are. And what I will do is I will tweet this out and I will gab this out. And then we will proceed forward with the whole slew of articles that I have to present to you. Okay, so everything seems fine. Okay, so what I will then do is share my screen, and we will get going. And today is just going to be a news stream. I'm going to try to make a separation between, I guess, like a hangout stream or a bullshit stream. I haven't really come out with a name for that just yet, but this is going to be a news stream where I talk about news and give my opinion. Okay, and everything should be working correctly. Now, the first story that we're going to deal with is the fact that there is a gender grievance organization that is hassling the city of Buffalo to pay for it to do some sort of seminar in favor of women's equality and yada, yada, yada. So this is not really that much of a news story in terms of the national story, but what this is just an example of how so many of these NGOs and activist organizations are not much more than the modern form of trying to, like I'm blanking on the word for what it is, but it's essentially legalized con artistry. That's what it is. And that is what this is. Because within the city of Buffalo, there is not any issue with women being marginalized or whatever else. Most of the Common Council, which you see here, is black. They're black men. I believe it's all black. No, it's all but, I think, one or two black men. That is what the Buffalo Common Council is. The mayor of Buffalo, who just won his fourth term, is black. So to say that there's not adequate diversity in Buffalo, maybe just based on the fact that most of Erie County is white, that maybe that's the lack of diversity, is the fact that you have no members of any of the fucking Common Council, with the exception, I think, 2 are fucking white. Or, I mean, they're all black, with the exception of 2. But the issue is that this is not actually about diversity. What this is about getting money out of the city. They want the city to pay these people to go away. It's either con artistry or it's a form of extortion, where you pay us to leave you alone. And so what I did was, at the bottom of this, I had the opportunity to leave a comment, and that's what I said. I left about 3 paragraphs of short paragraphs, not like an essay, but 3 paragraphs worth of explaining that this article is bullshit, that there's nothing here to talk about. There's no issue with the Common Council. There's no issue in Buffalo with women, outside of probably the Muslims, who are like every other fucking Muslim community in the world, in which they beat and rape and discard women like they're trash. I would say that's probably the only section of Buffalo that has a problem with women. But we're not here to talk about Muslim women because no one gives a shit about them. We're here to talk about white women. And white women say that there's a problem with black men being discriminatory towards white women. And so we need to pay them for them to go away. Go back to the West Coast, because guess what? That's where they're from. They're from fucking San Francisco. That's where they're from. So this is just fucking trying to extort money out of the city of Buffalo. And that's pretty much the story. Oh, so anyways, the reason why I left a comment and why you see 0 comments is because Time Warner Cable News, otherwise known as Spectrum News, deleted my fucking comment. And they probably deleted every single fucking comment dissenting against this goddamn article because it's bullshit. And notice there's 0 comments. It's probably because no one is actually backing this. Everyone sees it for what it is. And the media do not allow opinions that go against the fucking the fucking con artists, the extorters, the legalized criminals. So there's, your daily fucking story about how the news media suck and how the city's they're probably gonna go along with this. They probably very quietly paid them off. I'm sure if I looked into it, that was probably what happened. Let me pick another story. Actually, I should move that to where it's... Okay, that goes here. We're not going to do that one just yet. So here's another bullshit story that we'll get to. And that is the fact that Best Buy stores all across the country, apparently, have pulled products by this Kaspersky Lab, which is a brand from Russia. And apparently the reason why they did it was based on nothing more than the mass hysteria about Russia. And that appears to be what is happening here in this article. There seems to be no other reason for why they're doing what they're doing than other than mass hysteria about Russia. And so, I don't really give a shit about Best Buy. I'm sure they're going to go out of business eventually because they're a big box store, an electronics store specifically, and many of those stores are going out of business. I imagine they're not going to last forever, and this is a stupid thing for them to do, but it is an outcome of what is happening with the fucking insane conspiracy theories about Russia and influencing the United States. It's moronic, and it is actually still having a real effect. The good news of this week is the fact that the Education Department and the new Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, who is a corporatist billionaire pushing to privatize all of education, actually did something good in her station as the Secretary of Education, in that she has actually rolled back Title IX. And Title IX, what it was in essence a means to give prosecution. It wasn't just the universities have the right to kick you off, but what this does is it provides a very heavy incentive upon all campuses to pursue sexual assault, rape accusations, and domestic abuse accusations on campus. So if you don't go along with Title IX and pursue those investigations on behalf of the student that is accused another student, you potentially lose, I believe, federal funding. I think that's what they're scared of losing. Obama expanded Title IX. I don't remember which year it was, but he expanded it, and that's where you hear a lot of the fucking the ridiculousness come from. Whether it's Jackie from the Rolling Stone story, or it's Mattress Girl, which Sargon did a whole video on, or it's any of the other insane cases that have happened. And in this article on Reason, they go through a whole slew of the insane cases that have happened. And in every point in time, you see ridiculous stories of insane, psychopathic women accusing innocent men of crimes they did not commit simply to try to destroy their lives. And in many cases, many men had their lives destroyed, whether it was just the average man or foreign exchange students or rising stars. There were many sports stars that had their future careers ruined because of this. This is one of the big black clouds to hang over the Obama administration, in my opinion, in that it was a nationwide demonization of men on college campuses. I don't think that there's any way in which you can even defend this. But there are many fucking cynical politicians, including my own Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who I worked for at one point. She and many other Democrats came out in favor of this, wanting it to be restored, wanting it to stay in place, not wanting to see it go away, because they generated power in society based on this. They generated power by oppressing men on college campuses. So this is actually one of the only decent things that I've seen come out of the Trump administration where there's no real debate on it, that this is something that needed to happen and actually did happen. And my hope is that this will actually have some effect in college campuses to clamp down on the widespread false accusations that are seen and the oppression of men on college campuses. So this is the good news story of today, pretty much. Moving on from there, we get to this story, which surprised me, but it's really frustrating all the same, in that there was a recent poll by Gallup that actually showed that right now in the United States, the general public has actually far more support of unions and has actually reached a record amount. And it's the first time since 2003 that it's reached this percentage of support for unions. The problem is within the first sentence, that ask AFL-CIO President Richard Trumka, who, for those of you that know me, I've been talking about this exact guy for about as long as I've had this channel, in that he is a fucking worthless goddamn idiot who is too busy screaming about race and identity politics rather than supporting the broad base of laborers that he should be representing. He is a fucking worthless individual who should step down. But the reason why he's there, and the reason why NPR and these other outlets are talking to him specifically, is because he is a flunky for the corporatists. Richard Trumka, the reason why he talks about fucking bullshit instead of collective bargaining or anything else that would have to do with fucking labor, why he tries to delay or divide labor, divide workers, divide the people that he represents by race and every other fucking factor, is because he is a fucking toady for the corporatists. He can go and hang himself because he is a disgrace to his family name and of his father, who is a real labor activist. Fuck you, Richard Trumka. Go kill yourself and try to redeem some honor to your fucking family name, you worthless piece of shit. You're an embarrassment. And even now, when there's widespread support because of Trump for union labor, you fucking fail to capitalize on it because you are a fucking dyed-in-the-wool corporatist. You are controlled opposition. Kill yourself. And that's this story. From there, we move on to something that's about as equally as frustrating. We're moving pretty fast here, but it's also because I don't know how long I'm going to last in this, because I'm still drinking. We move on to a story that was made on the anniversary of September 11th, which I thought was fake, but it appears to be actually real, where apparently members of the Saudi government or individuals that had links to the Saudi government, and let's just read the story. So the title of the story, and this is from Fox News, it was written by the New York Post, and Fox did a story based on it. They basically copied the whole thing. The Saudi government allegedly funded a dry run for 9/11, report says. So let's just read this article. Fresh evidence submitted in a major 9/11 lawsuit moving forward against the Saudi Arabian government reveals its embassy in Washington may have funded a dry run for the hijackings carried out by two Saudi employees. Further reinforcing the claims, employees and agents of the kingdom directed and aided the 9/11 hijackers and plotters. This is something that I have been talking about for years, in that the Saudi Arabian government has direct ties to the 9/11 hijackers. This is another instance where you have Fox News, a major outlet, reporting this. That people within the Saudi Arabian government had direct ties to the hijackers. So there are plenty of people in the United States that have some tacit ties to the government, let's say. But we're talking about people that have ties with the government in Washington specifically, that have direct ties to the hijackers themselves and financial ties, which is one of the major reasons why it was successful, that they had the financing to do it. So 2 years before the airliner attacks, the Saudi embassy paid for two Saudi nationals living undercover in the United States as students to fly from Phoenix to Washington in a dry run, quote, for the 9/11 attacks, alleges the amended complaint filed on behalf of the families of some 1,400 victims who died in the terror attacks 16 years ago. The court filing provides new details that paint a pattern of both financial and operational support for the 9/11 conspiracy from official Saudi sources. Lawyers for the plaintiffs say. In fact, the Saudi government may have been involved in underwriting the attacks from the earliest stages, including testing cockpit security. We've long asserted that there are long-standing and close relationships between al-Qaeda and the religious components of the Saudi government, said Sean Carter, the lead attorney for the 9/11 plaintiffs. This is further evidence of that. Lawyers representing Saudi Arabia last month filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, which may finally be headed towards trial now that Congress has cleared diplomatic immunity hurdles. A Manhattan federal judge has asked the 9/11 plaintiffs, represented by the lead law firm Cozen O'Connor, to respond to the motion by November. So this is a lawsuit that is proceeding, by all accounts. This is something that is going forward. That was delayed, but now, because of Congress clearing it, is going forward. This is a law firm representing the families of the victims of 9/11, suing the Saudi Arabian government for having direct involvement in 9/11. So this, despite the fact that it's some small snippet article on Fox News and it's originally posted by the New York Post, this should be nationwide news. This should be something that's covered by every major outlet across the country, but isn't, for obvious reasons. And that's because we have an establishment in this country sucking the dick of Saudi Arabia to get money out of it. They want money to come in their fucking face. They are fucking dick suckers for fucking jihadists. That's what they are, and they as well can all go hang. Actually, I wish I would have structured this a little bit. I guess we'll move on to a goofy story, and that is this story that I don't even think that I think. Actually, no, I think Sargon did include this in his Week of Stupid. I'm not sure whether he did or didn't. And that is the fact that Bibi Netanyahu, who is the prime minister of Israel, his son posted a meme on social media somewhere in reference to George Soros, who, according to this Reuters article, they say is a U.S. billionaire. I thought George Soros was European. I mean, he's very rarely talked about in the United States. So when they say U.S. billionaire George Soros, I'm not aware of that. I thought he was European, but whatever. And so in this meme, he posts a picture of George Soros at the top of the food chain, dangling the world in front of both a reptile and former Prime Minister Ed Barak, who is a frequent critic of Netanyahu. So as far as I can tell, Bibi Netanyahu's son, Yair, or whatever the fuck, is very much a conservative from an Israeli perspective. And that's not really a big surprise when the Likud party and Netanyahu, as far as I know, is right. I'm not really sure if they're necessarily far-right, because I know that there is another party in Israel that is definitely far-right, but Netanyahu is definitely right-wing, and so his son appears to be similar in terms of politics. And this meme, because of the lunacy of the Anti-Defamation League here in the United States and other fucking left-wing outlets, they have deemed this to be an anti-Semitic comic or meme. Now, the problem is that this is a Jew, the son of the prime minister, the head of state of Israel. I don't think that there's any bigger Jew in the world than the Jew running Israel and the Jewish son of the Jew running Israel. I'm pretty sure they are adequately fucking Jewish to not actually be posting anti-Semitic memes. I'm pretty sure that you are just fucking slanderers that are so hysterical that you can't help but label the son of the prime minister of Israel a fucking anti-Semite. This is where we are now. And if maybe I was less intoxicated and I had less frustrating stories to cover, maybe I would laugh about this more. But this is very much a goofy fucking story, which is unbelievable, but speaks so much to where we are politically here in the United States, that we're so fucking hysterical that we're labeling the son of the prime minister of Israel a fucking anti-Semite. When I don't think they can get more Jewy than fucking Israel. I don't know if there's any more Jewish part of the world than fucking Israel. I don't know. Maybe there are plenty of anti-Semites in fucking Israel. Reading from the Torah with an Orthodox Jew, I don't know. Maybe they're all maybe everyone in this picture is a fucking anti-Semite. I don't know. They're not sufficiently fucking Jewish because of the memes they post on social media. But no, I see in the chat, people are saying, is this an Onion story? No, this is not. This is a story from fucking Reuters. This is a real fucking story. I'm not joking. This is legitimately a story that, because of the Anti-Defamation League, they describe it as a fucking anti-Semitic imagery because of what he posted on Facebook, apparently. They're labeling this cartoon that his son posted on Facebook as anti-Semitic. The Anti-Defamation League released a statement on it. Ridiculous this has become. So yes, welcome to the world where the fucking sons of head of state of the most Jewish nation possible is a recognized Jewish state is an anti-Semite based on our fucking ludicrous standards. Small article, but I thought this was worth mentioning. For those of you that are like me, who are big fans of Catherine, the game by Atlas, the only Atlas game probably that I've ever finished and ever really liked, they are potentially going to do, and they hinted about this, they may be doing a sequel to Catherine, which would be great. Based on what I know about the first game, all they have to do is take the same elements of that game and do it again. They can Far Cry it for all I care, where you literally take the exact same elements and make a sequel exactly the same as the previous one. Do the exact same thing again, and it will be better than any of the fucking Persona games you put out. Sorry for those of you that are Persona fans or fans of other Atlas games. I cannot finish those fucking games for the life of me. I haven't given up on Persona 5 just yet. I haven't. I'm going to continue trying to get through it, and I'm not saying it's a bad game, but the previous ones I was unable to get through because I was too bored by them. But Catherine, I very much thoroughly enjoyed, finished. I've played it multiple times. I very much like Catherine as an Atlas game. I think it's a good Japanese game, and I really do hope that they do a sequel. And if they do a sequel, provided they don't fuck it up completely, I will pre-order it, I will buy it, I will play it, because I think it was a solid game. I would encourage everyone listening to this, if you have the chance to go play it, go play Catherine. It's a fun experience. It's fun. It's challenging because of the puzzle aspect. It's an interesting story. There's plenty of 3D modeling and also like anime that they include into it. It's great. I loved it. I thought it was a great. I think it's the best out of all the Atlas games that I've played, and it's not that long either. That's a positive as well. And I think that you can choose the ending that you think is sufficient to how you perceive the ending of the game should be, and what's it, Vincent's story, how you think Vincent should play out, or from your perspective, on how do you think this should play out. I'd be very curious to see what they do with this. I hope this is not just an empty fucking hint. I really hope they do follow up on this, and I really do hope that they do a sequel. Because I really like that game. Okay. So I guess we'll go to the statue story next. So for those of you that remember the whole statue story following Charlottesville, when the Unite the Right protest happened, and right afterwards, there was a very clear push to remove Confederate statues. So from there, people on the right said, and people like myself said, I'm not on the right, but I said it as well because it's patently obvious to anyone paying attention, that once this is started, what it is then going to move to is every other kind of statue. It is not going to stay with just the Confederate statues. It is going to move to other statues. So this is an older article. This is actually from August, late August. But I'm setting this up as an example of the fact that even then, there were people pushing to remove statues that had absolutely nothing to do with Confederacy. It was just rampant, and it happened overnight that they were then starting to push for other statues to be removed. And Tucker Carlson said it loud and clear. He was not the only one. I said it as well, but he's the one that made us think about it on air. So credit to Tucker Carlson for being one of the main people in the mainstream media to make this a point. But his fear and my fear was that this was then going to turn against the Founding Fathers. And I have to tell you that that is clearly, and I think I speak for most of us that are American, that is our absolute line in the sand. That is the line in the sand in which not only will we not cross it, we will stand on the line and dare you to cross it, because that is going to be when you get punched in the face. That is going to be when, if you go to take it, we are going to then fight back, because you are evidently a collection of violent revolutionaries that want to overthrow the government. When you reject outright any notion of American principles, or the U.S. Constitution, or the vision of the Founding Fathers, or any concept of being American, your own citizenship, when you fully reject the idea that you are an American and you wish to clearly overthrow our society, our government, everything that makes America America, when you want to do that, people such as myself are not only unwilling to go there, but we will stand against you. Absolutely. We will oppose you. That is what I warned was about to happen, and that, and I saw Tucker Carlson and others saying was about to happen. So this is something that happened on August 25th. This is an article from the New York Times talking about how this was growing. This was expanding from just Confederate statues. Now it's moving. It's expanding. I did a whole thing, a whole petition and everything on Christopher Columbus that was nationwide attempts to have removed. Okay, nationwide attempts to have Christopher Columbus statues moved. So where did it go? You fucking guessed it right. At University of Virginia, which is the university that Thomas Jefferson fucking founded. He founded this fucking university. You have a collection of terrorists trying to remove his statue. And I'm not backing down from that position. I don't care that I'm intoxicated. I am labeling these people for what they are. They are terrorists trying to overthrow our government and society. These people should be imprisoned. They should be in jail. They should be jailed. They are terrorists. There are people trying to overthrow our society. There should be no quarter given to these people. They are enemies of the state and of the people, our society. They are enemies. They will have no mercy towards us. So why should we have any mercy in response to that? Why should we, or in return? Why should we? And this is a legit story where day after day after day, and as far as I know, this is still ongoing. This is not stopped at university, or actually, it's not university at Virginia. It's of Virginia. This is not stopped. They continue to fucking vandalize the statue over and over and over again. And and again, this is getting no fucking recognition. You have communists and enemies of the state, terrorists at this university, which Thomas Jefferson founded, attempting to remove his statue. It doesn't get worse than that. It doesn't get worse than that. And they can fucking talk about whatever fucking race grievance horseshit they have to talk about. They are communists. They are terrorists. They are attempting to overthrow the government and our society. They should be expelled from campus. They should be jailed. They should be done away with. They should be gotten rid of. They should no longer be tolerated. And the fucking professors that are leading this activism, as they always are, should be thrown off the campus, and they should be jailed as well. I don't give a shit that this is so-called activism. I don't give a shit. These are people that are attempting to overthrow the government, trying to overthrow our society. These are people that have no qualms about violence and attacking members of the public, innocent people that just want to be left alone, to go to campus, to learn, to try to better themselves, to try to gain a career or at least get an education. These are people that have no, like, they don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about this country. They don't give a shit about this campus. This is not about anything more than trying to display their own power on this campus. It's not about anything other than power politics. And so, like I say, these people should be removed from campus. They should be expelled tomorrow. The professors that are there that are participating, they should be fired, removed tomorrow. And it's an embarrassment that that's not the case, that these people haven't been removed from campus. It's an embarrassment that that's not the case. I understand raising the recognition that Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner. I understand that he was a bad guy and did mistreat his slaves. But to openly demand an attempt, again, if they had the means to rip down this statue, they would do it. Everyone listening to this knows it to be true. You all know that if they had the means to rip down this statue, they would do it. So, no, every single fucking student involved, every single professor involved should be removed from that campus. They should be expelled. They should be fucking fired. Every single one of them that participated. So it's, and again, like I said, if you want to, like, I am more than willing to engage with you as it relates to Thomas Jefferson's history, as it relates to slavery, as it relates to him raping slaves, which by all accounts he did. I am more than willing to engage with you in that conversation, but you are not going to fucking desecrate a statue and demand its removal because for no other reason than power politics, because you are fucking communists. You are fucking terrorists trying to take down our government and overthrow our society. You don't fucking fool me. You don't fool anyone other than the Marxist professors that are backing you, that have indoctrinated you to believe what you believe. Those are the people that you may have on your side, but no one else should be. I don't understand remotely why their fucking limp dick anti-American fucking administration within this university hasn't expelled these people, hasn't removed these professors overnight. Again, Thomas Jefferson founded this fucking university. He founded it. So, and you allow this to take place. You allow this to happen, where they continue day after day to vandalize this statue, vandalize the campus, use this as a means to intimidate other students. These people should be removed. The professor should be removed. The social sciences should be defunded on a federal level. This needs to be done away with. This needs to be stopped. This needs to be halted in its place as soon as possible. This is a clear failure for the Republicans in Congress, for any of the congressmen, anyone in Congress, and of the president. This is what shows Trump to be a cuck. Trump is a cuck. His administration is a cuck. His cabinet members are a cuck. Every Republican member of Congress is a cuck. They are a limp dick loser because they allow this to continue to happen. They have the means to make this stop, and they choose not to do it because they are nothing but a bunch of limp dick cocksuckers. Fuck them. Anyone that wants to say anything about the left, say it to your own fucking representatives. Any Republican that is not out in front of a podium with a microphone in hand, screaming at the top of their lungs that this needs to stop tomorrow, is a limp dick cocksucking enabler of it. So I don't want to hear anything about the left wing being anti-American. The left wing are all limp dick cucks. No, the right is too. You have the means to stop it and you don't do it. You're all fucking cucks. So we're going to move on from this story, which I originally thought I wasn't going to get fucking especially angry about. But it is, again, like, this is something that every fucking American should be outraged by. This is something that we should all have an understanding of and why it is wrong and what this actually represents, which is a fucking faction within our society that are a collection of far left extremists. And I mean far left extremists. I'm talking communists, insane, authoritarian anarchists, although, again, it's like a fucking contradiction, but it is what's happening. And Marxist professors. That's what this is, a coalition of. Marxist professors, communists, and probably progressives too, because they're fucking worthless and they hate this country. So my demand is for those of you that actually have any kind of connections to Republicans in office now, they have the means to make this stop, and they need to make it stop. The unfortunate part of where we are now is that I don't expect any Democrat in elected office to have anything to say about this other than blah, 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 Black Lives Matter and whatever else, because they're all fucking worthless. They're all just disgusting, and they can all go hang because they're all worthless. This is the exact thing that the Republicans pretend as though they're against, and yet they're not doing anything to stop. They're not doing anything to prevent this at all. Not one fucking thing. Not one proposed bill. Not anything. They're not doing a single fucking thing. I haven't seen one Republican talk about this at the top of his lungs. Nothing. Not one fucking thing. Not an interview. Not an article. Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. Nothing. I saw a few pundits, a few right-wing commentators, Tucker Carlson, and now myself, who's not even on the right. That's it. That's all I've seen in terms of covering this story. So, and I'm pretty sure we're getting down to pretty much just talking about how Trump's a cuck, pretty much. But we'll move on to another good story. And all credit to Torben. I apologize for not knowing his name. Let's do owner or CEO of Gab. Let's just look that up so I can remember his name. Andrew Torba. Let's see if there's an image of him. Yep, right here. Oh, it's not. It's okay. It's sufficient. It's a bad photo. Here he is. So this is Andrew Torben. He is the CEO of Gab, and he is very much on the right. I'm not really sure to what degree that I disagree with his politics. I'm sure that we do disagree because I am not on the right and he is, and he's clearly on the right. And I also have to say that he and Jeff Holiday recently had a very unproductive conversation, and I have to say that Andrew was a bit rude in that instance, and I do think that with Jeff it makes Andrew look bad when he acts in the way that he does, especially when he needs to win support from the mainstream. My hope is that with Gab doing as well as it currently is, and by all appearances, Gab is doing very well, I think Andrew should take his role as CEO a bit more seriously. He should be a bit more willing to reach out to people, or people that are at least acting on his behalf, reach more out to people such as myself or people like Jeff, people who are on the left, be more open-minded to them, be willing to engage with them, say that you're more than welcome on our platform. It's not a matter of correcting people's speech or tone policing or anything else. It's about making clear that we're all united against Google and what they're doing, even though I'm broadcasting on a Google property. I'm aware of this being a Google platform. But the fact is that they are effectively a monopoly, and that is what Gab is currently suing them over. And I have to say that I agree with Andrew in this case that he was prevented from actively competing against Google because of anti-competitive practices by them. So I am absolutely on board with what Andrew is arguing here. I agree with the lawsuit, and I hope he wins. I think that he actually was enabled from actively competing with Google because of how much a monopoly they have over the social media market. They allow what is allowed on phones. Them and Apple is also in collusion with Google. I don't think there's any doubt about it. They're in collusion with Google to prevent Gab from taking off in any way, because they know that Andrew and many of the members, the upper echelon of Gab, are right-wing. It's not even just right-leaning. I think it's pretty clear that they are right-wing, and that's fine. It's okay to be right-wing. It's okay to be conservative. I don't think that it's, I don't think you should be run out of the industry just because you hold differing political beliefs to me or anyone else. I think Gab should be allowed to fairly compete with every other social media platform, especially Twitter, which is their main competitor. And what Google is doing is preventing them from actually being able to compete with Twitter. So my hope, and there's a very widely cited article from Breitbart, which I'll cite when I post these links in the description of this stream. There was a write-up by Breitbart, which was very widely shared, even though it says 200 here. Actually, no, maybe it's not this one. There's another one that I was... Oh, actually, I'm thinking of another story, but this still was widely spread. But there's a few... This is from the Washington Post, so there were articles about this that were very mainstream. And my hope is that Andrew wins this lawsuit and Google has less ability to control the market in relation to social media. So that way, those of us that actually want to talk about politics are able to freely do so. We're not hindered by extreme left-wing corporations based entirely out of Silicon Valley in California. It's fine to have people within companies that are left-wing, but it should not be acceptable to have monopolies that are politically active, that are ideologically fucking active, and are discriminating against conservatives and people on the right. And when you have somebody like Andrew Torba, who is right-wing, trying to actively compete against Twitter, not against Google necessarily, but against Twitter, Google stands in the way and prevents them from actively competing because they understand what's going on. Twitter is run by Jack, who is an extreme left-wing person. He is actively within, active. He's an active social justice activist in terms of his connections to Black Lives Matter. That black fucking con artist who is a shill for the mainstream. I don't remember his fucking name, but he is an activist. He's not a CEO. He's an activist, and he runs Twitter. And that is who Andrew is trying to compete against and is succeeding. I have to say that. Right now, Gab is succeeding. I'm on Gab. I encourage everyone to get on Gab. It's not just because it's an alternative to Twitter. It's because Gab is doing very well right now. And I think that if they win this lawsuit and they get onto the Play Store, they get onto iOS, they can actively compete against Twitter. And the only thing that I would say, as I said to begin this, I would say to Andrew and I would say to the employees of Andrew's company and anyone else that's involved in relation to Gab, be more open-minded to the other people that are going to be on your platform, be more professional, and make it an open environment for everyone, especially big-name commentators and YouTubers. Make it very clear to them that you welcome them on your platform. Sargon going on to Gab is in part one of the things that is making Gab very successful right now. It generated a lot of activity just by Sargon joining. It's obviously not the only factor, but him joining Gab makes Gab far more palatable to people that are currently on Twitter. So if you make Gab more palatable than Twitter in terms of connecting with people and memeing and all the rest, then Gab will overtake Twitter. If you make Gab a better platform and a better social media platform in general in a company, then you will win against Twitter. Twitter will collapse and go away, and that'll be it. But you can't stand in your own way, and I'll say that to Andrew again. Be more professional. Don't be a jerk to people. Don't have people that represent you be jerks to people that are either center-left or just the centrist or center-right or people even on the left. Don't be assholes to them because you need them to make your platform successful. So, yeah, I'll say that there. And see, was there... Actually, no, it's because the... okay, so we'll move on to this article. So... this is one of the stories to come out very recently. This was very quietly announced as far as I can tell. And this is, I believe, one of the first things that Trump did early into his administration was withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord, which is a global agreement on energy and environmental regulation and a few other things. This is one of the first things that the Trump administration said that they were actually going to withdraw from. Now, I'm obviously suspicious of this accord and of this meeting between the governments because I think that this is obviously tacitly in with the corporations, and it's also very globalist. I've had people say that to me, that there's a lot about this that's very globalist. But I will say that I am still somebody that thinks that it is important to pursue renewable energy as a future technology. I think that the United States should be competitive in renewable technology, and that does not, and it's not limited to just solar and wind, that we can talk about nuclear energy as well. But I think that it's important to not rely on a small selection of sources as a nation. I don't think that's important. It's also important in terms of renewable energy to get away from Saudi Arabia, as we just listed with that previous article, with them essentially funding and being aware of 9/11 to some degree at least. I think it's important that we end our ties, our current friendly relationship and our weapon deals with the Saudi Arabian government. I do think that keeping renewables in mind, keeping the environment in mind, and keeping new technology in mind is a good way, not a total way, but the means by which to reduce the influence that Saudi Arabia has over the West and especially the United States. So this is not just about climate change. This is not just about scientists and the debate of climate change and all that. I think this is also important geopolitically in reducing our connections and our reliance on Saudi Arabia. I think that most of us are aware of that detrimental fucking link and that we should be trying to break it as much as we possibly can. So, as it relates to this story, what happened is that the Trump administration just reneged on withdrawing, and they're actually working to continue staying within the Paris Climate Accord. So they actually want to stay within this agreement. This, as far as I can tell, is actually something that should upset many Trump supporters, because I think he actually did say that we're going to walk away from this. I'm not sure that he said it in the campaign, but I think he may have said it. So if you're a Trump supporter, this probably should upset you. And like I said, there are some bad implications with this as it relates to, globalism and with corporatists and corporations and the rest. Because the only way that this kind of shit happens is if the corporations are on board. Nothing like this can actually happen unless the corporations are already on board with it. So this is not as altruistic and all the rest as it would seem. This is when, the corporations and the elitists have made their deal. They have decided what they're willing to forgo and what they're willing, what path they're willing to take forward. Yeah, I think I've already said enough about this. So we then move on to probably the biggest story of the year, probably. This is probably one of the biggest stories of the year. I've seen a number of people very, very upset by this. And I think that there is actually a bigger precedent that's being set by this, and that and if you're just listening, Trump and the Trump administration is currently involved, and Trump himself is currently involved in negotiating with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, who are the representatives of the minority in the House and the Senate. He's negotiating with them to pass a bill in Congress to give effectively amnesty to members of the Deferred Action, blah, 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 otherwise known as DACA. This is something that I can hardly believe, because out of all the things that Trump has been crystal clear and has reiterated over and over and over again, is his commitment to, I don't want to say anti-immigration, but enforcing the law as it is in terms of immigration and building a wall, as he always says. This is about controlling immigration, legal or otherwise, to the United States, and especially as it relates to Mexico and the United States. This is very clearly Donald Trump reneging on that, because DACA recipients are not all little kids and all the rest. Some are older than me, in their 30s. And so it's like, that is not something that you can argue based purely on emotion. You can agree or disagree with DACA, but the fact is that this is not about little kids. This is not. If people that are included in this are older than me, then we're talking about going back to people that came into the country right around fucking 1987, 88. That's when these people would have had to come in. And, I'm sure most of you can gauge this by that date and that timeline, but that's a long fucking time ago. Okay, that's George W. Bush era, or George H.W. Bush era. Okay, that's a long goddamn time ago. I believe it was. Yeah, he was in office then. So to be talking about that those people deserve amnesty, which apparently that's what's on the docket. It's not a matter of me just being hyperbolic. No, that appears to be what's on the table, that 800,000 people are going to get amnesty. I don't know if they say it in this article. Let's control find it. Apparently there's at least one. Okay, it's where Trump defends himself, but it's hilarious that the first time where they say amnesty is because Breitbart reported it, used the headline about this article, Amnesty Done, which I'm not sure if they actually did or not. They might have done it on Twitter, because that wasn't the headline. But this is probably the biggest article this year on fucking Breitbart. 48,000 fucking comments on this article. This was a very, very widely shared fucking article. I saw this article shared everywhere on Breitbart about what was going on with this. And it's funny too, because they actually say the Blue Dog Coalition. That's actually really funny because of who Schumer is, who Pelosi is. Like, they actually were part of the Blue Dog Coalition. Like, it's bizarre that John Binder and myself are aware of this. Like, we know who the Blue Dogs were. Again, and those of you that are listening to this, I've talked about the Blue Dogs in the past. That's very true. Chuck Schumer was part of the Blue Dogs when they existed. They don't really exist anymore. At least in terms of like the actual element, they don't exist anymore. But in terms of the politicians that were part of that group, they very much do still exist. And so it's funny that it's probably from Twitter, but they called Donald Trump Amnesty Don, because that is effectively what they're going to do with this. That is what this is. And apparently from Stephen King of Iowa, who's kind of a bit of a lunatic, says the Trump base is blown up, destroyed, irreparable, and disillusioned beyond repair. No promise is credible. That's what he said in reaction to this, because it is a full 180, not from Trump's base, because Trump's base has been very consistent on this. This is one of the reasons why Trump was elected. If I had a list of things to say, I would say trade is definitely one of them, and that's where I would agree. But with immigration, and I still largely agree based on the principle, that this is something that Trump's base very much wants. They expected to happen. And him fighting, not only not fighting against DACA, but actually working with congressional Democrats to get DACA passed and defend it openly. He has had several statements defending the idea of Congress passing DACA. That is a fucking betrayal, which to me is unbelievable. I can't imagine what he was thinking doing this. This is the means by which you don't get reelected, Donald Trump. I mean, you double down on everything, you stand by every word you say, you get elected, and then one of the first things out that you fucking betray your fucking base on is one of the main reasons why they put you in office, because you were the strongest person on immigration. You beat back every other Republican on immigration. And you called endless people, especially Jeb Bush, you called him a cuck over and over again. You embarrassed Jeb Bush over immigration, and yet you're doing this. It's really ridiculous. So, yes, as it relates to the immigration issue, I'm not as, to the degree of people on the right would be in terms of not liking illegal immigrants and all the rest. But what I can't stand is the duplicitous nature of the left, or I should say more Democrats than anybody else. I mean, the left are going along with it, in part the general left, but it is very much the establishment Democrats that are pushing this forward. And if any of you didn't see it, Tucker Carlson, I think it was Friday or Saturday, had a guest on a show who I believe is a politician from, I forget even where it was. I think it was out west. Or no, it was I think it was Massachusetts, or no, Maryland. They gave, within one municipality, I believe, they gave illegal immigrants the ability to vote in the elections. And Tucker Carlson, along with many others, have been saying that is what Democrats, I wouldn't say necessarily the left, but Democrats are pursuing, is they're trying to give illegal immigrants the right to vote. They're trying to do that. And in one municipality, as far as I know, they have actually been successful. They have actually given non-citizens the right to vote in that municipality. And that is fucking crazy. But it's something they have done. It's something they've actually done, if you can believe it. So I would say that this is a dangerous road to be going down. I think that Trump is out of his mind to be doing this. Even if he has to come across as heartless, which I don't even agree with. You know, it's just cynical people that are going to assume that he's heartless. I think this is very much a mistake on Trump's part. And you can read this on Breitbart if you feel like it, and you can be one of the fucking 40-odd thousand commenters in the comment section talking about this. But this very much is Donald Trump betraying his base and going back on a very big part of his campaign promise. One of his promises. This is unbelievable. And I actually have this chart, this Pew study. And the reason I got this here, and I'll probably save this for another video because it's actually it's a good study. And I've talked about this in the past. I've actually written a research paper based on another study that Pew actually did. This is from 2016, but I've done a study based on this actual these findings. It's not different. They've just updated the findings. Nothing's changed outside of things have continued down the path that they've gone. If you look at the racial breakdown of who votes in the United States, the percentage of registered voters you can see are 5% other, 2% Asian, 9% Hispanic, 12% black in 2016, and 70% white. So 70% of registered voters in the United States are white. 12% are black, 9% are Hispanic, 2% are Asian, 5% are fucking other. If you look back in history, it's been a very gradual shift. The only real one to really grow very rapidly is Asian, or Hispanic and other. I'm not really sure what they mean by other. I'll have to dig into the numbers at some point to see. But as you can tell, the percentage of registered white voters have gone from 84% in 1992. So that's well within my lifetime. I was born in 1990. So within my lifetime, it's gone from 84% to 70%. That is a 14% difference. And that's a big shift. It's a big shift in who actually has the issue or the power in society to vote for our representatives who control everything. If we look at the Republican Party, so who leans Republican and who is a Republican, so that's conservatives, people on the right. If you look, it's gone from nearly white in totality from 1992, which is 93% white and 70% or 7% other. From there to 2016, where it is 86% white, 2% black, which is probably all men based on the numbers that I'm aware of, 6% Hispanic, 1% Asian, which I'm surprised isn't higher, and 4% other. So this is actually pretty high in terms of representation of whites as voters, based on the demographics, which we can see here are 70%. So whites are actually overrepresented within the Republican Party. Now, again, that's fine. As far as I know, it's very rare that Republicans say that it's a white-only party. You only hear some Klansmen saying that shit, and there are, like, what, 5 fucking people? It's very rare that you're going to hear Republicans saying anything on race. So once in a while, you'll hear a gaffe from a Republican, but there is a concerted effort within the Republican Party to try to pursue other people that are not white. They're not necessarily anti-white, but they're looking to get other people that are not white. And so they are still overrepresentative based on the numbers that are actually of registered voters. They're overrepresentative of whites. But as far as I can tell, that's a natural occurrence. It is not something where Republicans are excluding non-whites. It is just a natural occurrence. Again, there are racists in this country that are white, but of the party itself, I'm not aware of them being racist in that they're excluding people that are not white. There are plenty of mainstream Republicans that have national notoriety that are not white. We have a very conservative Supreme Court Justice, Clarence Thomas, very conservative, who is black. He's not very. I mean, I know him because I know politics, but there are many others that are within the Republican Party, like Ted Cruz and others, who are not purely white. And there, even in the last presidential election, there were plenty of people there that weren't white and male as well. So I think that that's something that is shamed against the right in the United States when it's not true. There are right-wing racists in this country, but I would say that there is an overwhelming amount of people in this country that are conservative or lean Republican or are Republican voters that are very much not racist. They are very much egalitarian, even if they don't even use the word. But the reason why I mention this research is this. Oop, fuck. Oh, I guess it's a fucking image. Can I blow this up, actually? No. Okay. So this is what I'm actually talking about, which says, actually, let me zoom in here. Sorry about that. I forgot. Oh, no. Okay, whatever. Oh, fuck. Motherfucker. Hold on. I'm having some technical difficulties. Okay, there we go. That's good. So this graph here shows the percentage of Democratic voters from 1992. So again, in my lifetime, going from 76% to 17%. So we have 76% white, 17% black, 6% Hispanic, and then like probably 1% or however, whatever this adds up to, for the total. So you have whatever percent other. There's not even any Asians represented, which is a mistake. I think that we should have a very serious percentage in both parties that are Asian. I believe, again, as I've said before, that we need to have mass immigration from East Asia, preferably women between the ages of 17 and we'll say 28, because I'm a fucking old fuck at 27. So getting back to the numbers, we have a pretty healthy percentage. You know, this is not the ideal percentage. I think that it would be nice to have, you know, a pretty adequate amount of black conservatives, white liberals, or leftists, and black leftists, and Hispanic people on the right, and everything else. You understand. I'd rather have it be more an equal distribution. Not that I'm trying to force people to have ideological perspectives, but I'd rather not have, such as black women, let's say, because it's very monolithic for black women. I'd rather not have so many black women that are Democrats. I'd rather have that it's an ideological difference, not people voting along racial lines. I don't want whites voting along racial lines. I don't want blacks voting along racial lines. I want people voting for self-interest and for their own politics as individuals. I realize that for the Democratic Party, they want black people and Latinos and everyone else to vote as a monolith because it helps them cynically. But I think in terms of the principle of it, we should be fighting for people to vote for their own interest and on their own politics rather than as a racial group. And that goes as well for whites as well. Obviously, I don't think it needs to be even said. But if we look at this graph, what you'll see is a fairly healthy distribution. We live in a majority white country, and we have a black minority. So you have the black minority, the white majority, and some other smaller minorities here. But we go from 76% white voter in 1992 to 2016. And again, I've been saying this for years, but look at this fucking drop. Look at this fucking drop. Do you think all of a sudden a whole shitload of white people disappeared in our society? Do you think that all of a sudden that these demographics have really shifted? Because no, if you look at the Republican Party, it went from 93% white to 86% white. Again, this is overrepresentative of the actual distribution of people in our society. But if you look at this is an unbelievable distribution. You have blacks, of which they're 21% of people, of Democratic-leaning people, when as far as I know, they are less than 14% of the population. So 21% representation is overrepresented. It's not a huge amount, but it's distinct. It's something you can easily recognize based on the actual population distribution. And what this is largely is not just is black men, but very much black women. This is black women right here, because black women vote Democrat by, I believe the current percentage is 95%. I believe that's what it's currently at. 95% of black women vote Democrat, or Democratic, I should say. If you can tell, that is actually ridiculously overrepresentative. That is monolithic in terms of voting. With Hispanics, it's 12%, which I'd actually have to look up the percentage of what Hispanics actually are in society. Let me just look that up right now. Percent of U.S. population Latinos. Let's just look that up. I should probably put Hispanics. 20. Okay, so apparently they're okay, so this is 2060 census. Okay, I don't need that shit. I believe it's okay, so 11%. That's what they're saying. So I'll be sure to include this link when I upload or finish this commentary. So it says 11%. So this is overrepresented. This is actually, or no, this is actually right on par with the population. So the Hispanic ratio is not that insane. That's right on board with what it actually is. It's a single percentage over what it is. Asian is pretty much where you'd expect, because Asians we don't have enough Asians currently in the United States. I will say that is currently an issue in the United States in terms of our immigration. I think we could cut pretty much near total immigration from any other country but East Asian countries. I believe that is a major deficit in our society of Asians. I think we need to get on board with that and all agree with that, regardless of political disposition. We need to agree that we need to be bringing in far more Asians than we currently have in our society. But if you look at these numbers, getting back to the point, because I'm sort of rambling, this is a major drop-off. To go from 76% consistent for these years, and it's consistent with blacks as well, down to 57%, it pretty much shows you where the whites are going. And the whites are going, let me show you, if you can follow along, let me show you. They're going from this party, and they're leaving this party, so the numbers are dropping, and they're going to this party. This is what's happening. You have a mass exodus of 20 percentage points going from this party to this party. So when people say, why aren't Democrats winning? It's because they don't have the numbers to win, because we live in a majority white society. So it is not good to have the left wing in our society saying over and over again, fuck white men, fuck whites, white men have no problems, white men are the devil, we live in a white supremacist society in which, coincidentally, fucking Asians do phenomenally well and more so than whites, but let's not get onto that. We live in a white supremacist society, and this is mainstream thought, whether it's mainstream Democrats, establishment Democrats, or progressives, or communists, or whoever the fuck else. It doesn't matter. It is mainstream, near universal thought within the left currently that one of our major priorities should be an obsession with race, but not only just an obsession with race, but a derogatory, dismissive, and hostile attitude towards whites. And what I can tell you is that is what's leading to the 76 turning to 57 and this 93 retaining to 86%, despite clear demographic shifts. So there are demographic shifts in our society, but it's not reflected in our actual elections because you have a mass exodus within the Democratic Party into the Republican Party, or at least Republican leaning, because it's included in that. That is not good. That is not good. That's not a good thing to happen. And I got to tell, and so when I talk about the previous articles of why Democrats specifically are trying to pursue the means by which to give illegals the right to vote, it's because of this Hispanic vote. They want the Hispanics to be a monolith, just like black women are. They want them to vote Democrat. And the trade-off is going to be, we don't deport you and you vote for our politicians. That's what it is. And on Tucker Carlson, let me I'll find the video just to show, because I saw some comments saying, like, are you kidding me? Are you making this up? And the answer is no. This is a real story. This really happened. This is somebody, here he is, right here.
Privileges of citizenship is the...
So on Tucker Carlson tonight, or it was uploaded tonight by this channel, there was a guy on Tucker Carlson from this part, and I don't even think he's the first. I think I've seen this once before with another, and actually Tim Pool was on Fox News earlier as well. He actually hit he did well there. But he talks to
well, there's a lot of reasons
this guy here
want to be citizens in the United States, and a lot of people in College Park who are currently non-U.S. citizens are striving to be citizens. They're obtaining green cards, they're becoming citizens so that they can fully take part in our American democracy, which includes voting in federal elections. What College Park has done is allow them to just vote in the local elections only. So this is just municipal elections. This is just for the mayor and the city council about issues like trash collection, all the things that we all share together in College Park.
The issues that really matter, though. I mean, I think those issues are meaningful issues to people, but of course they are. You know, local elections matter. Allowing illegal immigrants to vote dilutes, however, obviously, the voting power of citizens. I mean,
So I won't continue on with that video because it's about 6 minutes long, but I'll link that for you to watch. But this guy out and out says, and I'd have to find the minute mark. I'm not sure where it is, but Tucker Carlson gets him to admit that he is in favor of this being federalized, that he wants to see this happen, not just in, I thought this was Maryland. Anyways, he wants to see this on a national level. And I'm telling you again, this, like, it's easy to just say that this is the left, but no, it's not just the left. This is a democratic strategy. This is the strategy of a party trying to stay in power. This is not, you know, the coordination of leftist activists coming up with some crazy thing. And yes, they do support open borders. There are many people on the left that support open borders. But what I'm saying is that you need to make the distinction to say that, yes, there are people very much on the left that support open borders. That is true. But this is a coordinated strategy. Okay, it's just right here in Maryland. This is a coordinated strategy by the Democratic establishment. You can't just say that this is the left. This is the Democratic establishment, the party members, the party itself, strategizing to stay in power by taking advantage of illegal immigrants in the society to vote for them as a monolith. And it's going to be a trade-off. Again, you stay in the country and you vote for us. That's how you stay. You vote for us. It's insane. I obviously don't agree with it, as many of you can probably guess. I don't agree with it. I'm very much in favor, like most Americans, of there being a clear distinction between citizen and non-citizen. I'm fully in favor of people coming here for tourism and getting a visa to study here or get a visa to work here for however long and all the rest. Although I'd agree with the current administration to lower those numbers. I think that's what we should be doing because they're too high. They've been too high for too long. But This is something entirely different, and this is something that is extremely dangerous. This is extremely dangerous, and it's why I'm talking about this. It's not about race. It's not about, I dislike Hispanics or anything else. It's the fact that this is not only just diluting citizenship, but it is an attempt to create a third status. So you have illegals, which do not have rights outside of education, which, because of the Supreme Court, that's how it is. And you have citizens. So you have citizens and you have illegals. What they're trying to do here is create a third status. That is what they're trying to do. And that is extremely dangerous. That is extremely dangerous for our society to be doing. It is something that not just, again, undermines citizenship, but it undermines the fabric of our society. It undermines our fucking representation in terms of our government. It undermines our social structures and our social safety nets, and that as well, and many other factors within our government. It also undermines our sovereignty as a nation and our borders, and of our citizenship, and the difference between, say, a Mexican or a Canadian or someone who's Chinese or South Korean or Japanese or American. There is a difference, and this undermines everything. This is incredibly dangerous, and we should not be doing it. We should not be doing it. So, yeah, I'm not really... And Tucker Carlson is saying that this is about to become very mainstream. He says in one other video that I've seen him talking about this, that he's heard rumblings, that he thinks that this is just the beginning, that this is going to become a nationwide story eventually, a nationwide issue, and that the Democrats are going to be pushing this very hard because they know that this is one of the only strategies they can chase after because of this. These numbers. You can't fucking... You can't win when your numbers are this bad as it relates to the majority population. You can have every black woman in this country voting for you. That doesn't make a goddamn difference in rural America, because they don't live in rural America. Black people are largely centered around urban centers and metropolitan areas and all the rest. They're not in rural America. I've met plenty of black people and non-white people in rural America, but they are the clear minority. So if you want to win the electoral map, if you want to win the Congress, you have to win in these districts. You have to win in these majority white areas. And with your current numbers, you clearly can't do it. It's not just issue alone. It's not just policy alone. It's the fact that your numbers have been shrinking since I've been alive, and you can't stop it because you are incapable of doing so. You continue to double down on the exact wrong issues. You continue to double down on the wrong strategy, and you are hostile to people that are white. And I have a whole slew of saved articles, and eventually, as I've been saying for a while now, that I want to do a video on it. I'm not sure when I'll be able to do it because I'm still trying to sort it all out. But there is a clear and open hostility in this country to people who are white. Obviously, it's not very widespread. It seems to be concentrated within the media, within like the celebrities and a certain elite, the upper echelon within our society. It's very concentrated. If you talk to the average black person, if you talk to the average Latino, if you talk to the average Asian, if you talk to the average non-white person in this country, they are not an out-and-out fucking racist. I've had far too many interactions in my life with people that are just an average person who are not white to see this as something that's actually representative of people that are not white. That's not the case. This is an ideology that is being pushed by an elite in our society, an anti-white elite that are in many cases fucking white themselves. Go back to the clip of Joe Biden saying that the United States is becoming less and less white, and that's a good thing. That is an ideology motivating somebody. That is fucking insane. Could you imagine anyone saying that about any other fucking demographic other than white people in the West? I don't think anyone could, and I think that's something we can all understand. That it is an insane thing to say, that it is a good thing that the United States is becoming less white, that whites are being less represented, and all the rest. If the United States does become gradually less white, that's fine by me, because as I said, we should have mass East Asian immigration. But the thing is that it should be something where people are treated equally, where they're not denigrated and bullied because of their race, regardless of what their race is. I can agree to that. Most of you, the near totality of you, can agree to that. But the problem is that we have this ideology in the United States that says that we need to be openly hostile and discriminate against whites. That is not right. It's not good. It is not American. That is not egalitarian. That is not individualistic. That is not part of the mainstream of this country. Most Americans, a heavy majority, do not agree with that ideology. But the problem is that there is enough politically empowered and rich people in our country that subscribe to it, so that because of that, it continues to be a problem. So that is all the articles that I have to share to you today. And I believe we went for a good hour and a half. And hopefully that all went well, and I was not stumbling too much because of the fact that I've been drinking. But I will save those articles. I'll minimize that. Okay, so I'll keep those. I'll link those additional articles that I included in the description once I'm done with all this. I'll also name the fucking stream because I didn't do that. But we'll get into the super chat, and then I'll get into the chat, and we will round this stream out. It's not going to finish just yet, but we'll get to the comment section of the fucking people commenting. Oh. So Timothy Riggs says Marxist fucks, all of them. They don't know shit. I agree, Tim. Will May, I want to say, I'm 4 drinks down, bro. I've nearly finished this 4th drink, so I'm 4 drinks down, bro. Let's just say Will. Says if they get rid of students and professors, it would be bad PR for a day, and then it's over. Every time they cave, it goes on. Let's just end it. I absolutely agree, Will. Right there with you, man. Then Will says, I live in Alaska. The U.S. should build a bunch of nuclear plants in our barren wastelands. The size of half the country, we could power the continent. I agree with that. The issue with nuclear power plants is being able to attract the required workers. You really need some very high-skilled workers to operate a nuclear power plant, as far as I know. And if you build it in the middle of fucking nowhere, you pretty much have to pay for those people to pretty much live in the middle of nowhere. And it's not exactly a very... it's not exactly something people would want. I'd do it because I don't really give a shit. If I got, if I had a steady job with a clear schedule that paid well, I'd live in the middle of fucking nowhere. But, that's something that pushes away good people. So that's why they try to build them not in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I have to say that, nuclear power continues to be a bad rap, but it generates an exceptional amount of power compared to most other kinds of, energy sources. So I had, like I said, I don't take nuclear power off the table. I'd say it's very much on the table. Then Will says, lol, can people from other cities go there and vote? That would be hilarious, depending. And that's actually one of the things that Tucker Carlson brings up in the conversation about that part of Maryland, is he says that can I actually say that I live there and go vote there? If I say that I'm homeless, can I go vote there? And the guy pretty much goes like, well, actually, you need to have an address and blah, blah, blah. And he says, oh, well, then you actually discriminate against people that don't have homes. And so he basically opens up the idea that, just because you live there doesn't mean you actually can vote. And I would say that I actually think the guy's lying. I think because the thing is that when I go to vote, I just give my name and they check they ask, oh, do you still live at so and so? And I say, or even if they do that, I don't quite remember, but they just say usually, because of my family name, and I still live in the same voting district as my parents do. Yeah, I can say that. It doesn't matter. But I still live in the same voting district as my parents, and so they always ask me, they ask me for my last name. I say that my last name. Then they ask, oh, do you mean so-and-so? It's usually my father. And I say no, and I give my name. And then they, say, okay, here we go, sign here. And that's it. That's pretty much all there is to it. And I think that's fine. I've seen people on the right say that we should have voter ID, and I'm not very sympathetic towards that. I'm not saying there's no position to give there, but I'm not very sympathetic. I'm fine with things how they are. Like I don't want things to change. I don't want things to be like overly complicated. I don't want non-citizens to vote. Like I don't want I just want things to stay the same as it relates to voting. I want to show up, vote, and then just get it over with. If you want to do a very serious study and survey and voter fraud and all that, and, make sure it's with accredited organizations, make sure you make it very good, you vet it, you try to get more studies based on it to prove that we need voter ID, and you go from there. Obviously, having illegals vote is fucking retarded. I'll never get on board with it. I'm pretty sure just about every person listening to this is not on board with that. So I think it's obvious to say that no one accepts that, but yeah, I mean, it's a question, to Will's comment, whether they can or can't actually go vote, man. I literally don't know, and that official that was there on Tucker Carlson on Fox News, he doesn't appear to know either, because Tucker actually raised a decent question about whether, if you have an address there or not, can you actually vote there, and the guy didn't actually give a clear answer. He claims that you have to have an address there, but I don't know if that's actually true. Maybe it is, but I'm not too sure. But Will finishes his comment by saying that depending on the size of the city, you could do some sweet in real life trolling, and yeah, you probably could get away with it. You could just say you lived at. I mean, you could find somebody that lives there online, and then have like 100 fucking people or 1,000 people show up, and say you all lived at the exact same address. I mean, it'd be dangerous because maybe you get charged with voter fraud. I'm not even sure. But, you probably could troll. I don't know if I would necessarily participate because I wouldn't risk getting charged with voter fraud. But yeah, I would agree that this should be pushed against. And if trolling is the means by which we press against this, I would say go for it. Okay, so we will now then officially turn this over to the live chat. So if you'd like to say something to me or raise an issue or ask a question or fucking whatever, feel free. God damn, dude. I'll probably have to retweet another fucking Asian girl tonight. Because I just have like a fucking... I have like so many Asian girls liked and saved to retweet. It's so unbelievable. But yeah, someone just saying congratulations on 13K subs. Thank you for that. I actually should say right here, for everyone listening to this, be sure to head on over to Play Asia or JList using my affiliate links. Be sure to sign up to my Patreon account and support me, even if it's just for $1 on Patreon. I realize that some people don't want to go there, but I will say that they have not actually done anything since the Lord and Southern incident. They have not done anything further. So I would say that it is, if you are afraid, so far nothing has changed. If it does change, you are freely able to close your account, take away any support that you give to me. You can do that. I can't control it. It's completely up to you. I'm not going to guilt you or anybody else for doing anything you want. But I will say in relation to Patreon, they made a mistake, but they have not doubled down on it. They seem to have relinquished their idea of that being necessary in the way that they did it. They seem to be willing to understand that it was a mistake and that they have not pursued it further. And they've not discriminated against any conservative since then. So if you have a problem with it, it's only in theory. It is not something that has occurred. It's something that could occur, and you can close your account and all the rest. But again, the money you give to me on Patreon goes to me. So I think that is important to do that. I have not seen the recent South Park. I know that came out on Wednesday. I have not. Have I ever watched the anime Panty and Stocking? I have. I don't really like it. I won't shit on it, but I don't really like it. I thought the music was really good, if I remember right. The one song that they played when they were changing form, and it was like the full anime rather than the crappy anime style that they had for the most of it. They had like the more moe anime when they transitioned between their regular form and their angel form. They had actually some really catchy tunes to the show, but I really didn't like it. I found it very hard to get into. I liked the two Devil Sisters. I forget what they were. It was Garter Belt, and I forget the name of the other girl. But it's actually one of the rare times. I'm trying to remember. Here, let me just look it up. Oh no, it was oh no, Garter Belt's the name of the support character. Sorry. My mistake. Oh fuck. I'm trying to fucking it automatically went to season 2, but I'm trying to get the original. Okay, so it's Panty Stock and Garter Belt is support character. It is Scanty and Knee Socks. That's the name of the Demon Sisters. I actually, and it's one of the rare times, considering my preferences, it's one of the rare times that I actually liked the larger chested villain character, and that would be Scanty. I actually like Scanty compared to Knee Socks. People really, really, really like Knee Socks. I actually like Scanty better. But overall, I didn't really like the show. So, you know, I get the humor and all that, but I just didn't really like the show. I did like the music, and I think that's something that many people agree on. I like the music, didn't really like the show. All right, let's go back to the chat. Should probably keep the super chat window open just so I can pay attention to it. How many hot Asian traps live in Buffalo? None to my knowledge. There's not very many Asians in Buffalo. There are some, definitely, but based on one of the dating apps that I use, there's not that many. There's a whole fuckload in Canada, but there's not very many in Buffalo. But overall, there's not many Asians in Buffalo. There's a lot of fucking Puerto Ricans and a lot of black people. And I don't necessarily discriminate against people that are Hispanic or black, but my only qualification is the qualification that you all know me to have, and that is the fact that I don't fucking date fat women. All right? I don't exercise as much as I should. You know, I was going to lift weights today, but I didn't. I'm going to definitely do it tomorrow. I'm probably going to, you know, really mess myself up tomorrow because I wanted to work out a lot today. I only went for a long jog. When I came back, I was tired. I was like, oh fuck, you know, I probably should have lifted weights before. But tomorrow I'm probably going to screw myself up a little bit because I'm going to spend a few hours tomorrow lifting weights because I got to really start doing that a lot more. But and then the thing is, the reason I say that is because, you know, if I can do it, you can do it. And if you're a fat fuck, there's no, you know, I'm sorry for any of you that are overweight or whatever, but it's like, you know, I'm not going to fuck you, so it doesn't matter. So I'm speaking to people that I'm going to fuck. You know, if I'm going to date you, you need to be at least in decent shape. You don't need to be fit. You don't need to be a fucking Instagram model or whatever the fuck. You just need to be in decent shape. I'm okay with you being a little bit chubby or whatever, but you can't be fat. I'm not going to fucking date you, because what that speaks to is one of two things. It's you having a compulsive eating problem, and it's also you being lazy as shit. Again, to those of you listening to this, no denigration to you, but I'm speaking to the people that I'm going to date, and those are my fucking standards. I'm not going to fucking date anybody who has a compulsive eating disorder and is fucking lazy, because I'm lazy. I'm lazy. I don't need to date somebody that's lazier than fucking me. I need to date somebody that's more high-strung, more high-maintenance in that regard, in that they take better care of themselves than I currently do. I'm not that out of shape. If I continue to with the fitness that I'm currently doing in terms of how I'm working out, I will be in decent shape probably by the end of the fall into the winter. And probably by then I'm probably going to have to get a gym membership, because if I don't do that, I'm going to drop off and go back to not being in decent shape. But if I can fucking do it with my goddamn work week, when I work fucking 70 odd hours a week, if I can fucking do it, you can goddamn well do it as well. There's no goddamn excuse. And if you aren't in this decent shape, and if you aren't in similar shape to me or better, I'm not fucking you. All right? I'm sorry. Again, I've said it before. People are making a meme on of it that I top out at 8, but that's it. That's my fucking, those are my expectations. If you're out of shape, I'm not going to fuck you, because you're lazy and you have a problem with eating. So, and I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to hold back on that, because, again, to any of you listening to this that are overweight, I'm not denigrating you, because I'm not going to fuck you. I probably should have been paying a little bit more attention to the chat. I apologize. Daka asks in the super chat, sex bots will replace women, but will they replace boy pussy? Yes, they will. And I can guarantee you that that actually won't be a bad thing as well. There's a lot of people that are in the closet that have repressed feelings about fucking, I guess, effeminate men, I guess would be the best way of putting it. But, I don't see anything wrong with sex bots. I don't really see, I do see the benefits of it. I see the downsides potentially of it. But the downsides are ultimately going to be for women to have to make up. It's really going to be a downside on women. Yes, you are going to see lower reproduction rates. You are going to see more isolation, and that's not a good thing. But I have to say that a lot of that has to do with women. A lot of that has to do with the expectations and the high maintenance attitudes of fucking women. There are plenty of women out there that are very chill and are very cool. I've had relationships with women that were not sexual, that were good relationships, but I've had plenty of relationships with women where it's very clear to me that this is somebody that I'm dealing with who's all ego, who's never been properly fucking humbled ever in their lifetime. And I don't remember who I had a conversation with about this. I think it might have been like a cousin of mine, where we were talking about women. And I said, what would help most women? And I think this is something that it would be because it would help most men, is that at one point in their life, they need to have the shit beaten out of them. Like they get in a fight and they lose the fight. That humbles you. That humbles you. It lets you know that you are vulnerable, that you're not the shit, you're not anything special, you just get beaten up. And you realize, holy shit, I'm actually vulnerable in this world. I should figure my fucking ego out and probably let most of it go. Women, I've found, I won't even say a majority, although one can argue, that a lot of women in our society, regardless of what society we currently live in, whether it's Canada, the United States, Europe, it doesn't fucking matter, in the West. Women have a problem with ego. They have a problem with understanding they are not special. They are not a special snowflake. They are not extraordinary compared to most girls. Most girls are basic bitches and are average. but they overvalue themselves. And because of that, they expect men to just kowtow to every goddamn thing they think and say and whatever else, every expectation they have of men, they expect it to be met. And because it isn't, you have all these 30-something, people, women, that are, they have a cat, they have a fucking apartment, and they are, let's say 35, they're childless, they have a cat, they live in an apartment, they're miserable. That isn't because there's no man on the face of this earth that doesn't want to fuck them and potentially marry them. No, that's not the case. It's because of them. That's why. So as it relates to the sex bot issue there, DACA, it's largely going to upset the apple cart of women. And I've talked about this before. It's going to upset the apple cart of the gender expectations and the gender politics of women. Like I said, plenty of women out there that understand this, of this disparity in gender politics and control and power. They understand that. I've met plenty of chill women. One of the people that I've dated in the distant past was very much like that, very chill, very relaxed, not a high maintenance girlfriend. It's one of the reasons why I dated them. It was the longest relationship I had. And it's probably why it lasted, was that this person was not high maintenance. It just eventually petered out and didn't go anywhere. So we had an amicable breakup where we pretty much agreed, yeah, this isn't really going anywhere. It wasn't even like a we want to see other people thing. It was a do we really see this lasting another 6 months? And we kind of had like a really frank conversation, and we're just like, I remember, I don't really want to get too much into this because this is kind of really personal, but I asked the question, are you angry with me? Or, because I'm not angry with you. And the return answer was, no, I'm not. I don't know where we can go with this. And I answered that. And my response is, I don't really see where we can go with this either. And it's like, I'm not upset and I don't dislike you or anything else. I just don't think this is working out. And that was the end of the relationship. Was that one it wasn't even an argument. It was just a conversation. And I have to say that I really didn't like the end of that relationship because it had lasted for a while and it was the longest relationship I had. But it was a decent end, I'll say, to a relationship where I was dealing with a fucking adult, even when I was still in high school. And I'm glad for it. I'm glad to have that relationship, even though we don't talk anymore. That's been one of the things. And the exes that I've had, I don't talk to. I don't know if that's weird or not, but that's just how it is. And Graham says, Orange Theory is a good place to go for motivation. I'm not sure what that is. I will Google that. Is that a gym? Yes, it is a gym. Or a gothical or Orange Theory Fitness is a privately owned fitness franchise based in Boca Raton, Florida. It offered so this is like a specialist gym. Okay, yeah. I guess the thing is that the ones that are in my area, well, at least one of them is kind of farther away from where I live, but the other one's right over by I think that's is that South Campus or North Campus? Yeah, it's North Campus of UB, and that's probably going to be really busy. Thanks for the suggestion, but I really don't like fucking really populated gyms. That was one of the problems. I don't know if I've really talked much about like my past experiences in gyms. They've all been negative. I've gone to 2 different gyms in the past, but one of them was more locally. One of them wasn't locally owned, but it was a smaller New York brand, as far as I know, or East Coast brand, and the other one was a national brand. And both times I had very negative experiences. I don't know if I've gotten into what the one was that basically convinced me to quit. But I don't even know if I really want to get into it because it's kind of embarrassing. But I was working out in one of the gyms, and I won't say which it was or whatever, but I was working out there, and I had a group of people that came in all together. It was like a girl and probably like 6 guys. None of them were white, which is one of the issues that I had. Not because of the fact that they're not white, but because you run into people that are not white that have a fucking attitude, and they'll give shit to white people. It's just been one of my experiences is that when you have enough of like non-white people in a group that are thinking racially, they'll fuck with you if you're white and you're alone. That's been my experience. So I was working out there. I was minding my own business. I was listening to music on my phone. I was completely in the zone. I wasn't focusing on my surroundings. And I had one of the members of the group come up to me and ask me a question. And basically I had to stop. And I took off my headset or my earbuds and I said, like, what? What do you want? And I'm trying to remember what this person said to me, but it basically, oh God, what was it? It was like asking me a question as though that I worked at the place. And I kind of just looked at him like, I said something to the extent of like, why are you asking me? Like, I have no idea. Like, I go to the front desk and ask. Like, I have no idea why you're asking me. Like, I don't know. And so another one of the group came up to me, and he asked me the exact same question. And I said the same thing to him. And I said, like, are you like? I looked at him and I said, like, listen, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm over here minding my own business. Go to the front desk if you have questions about this place. So long story short, a third guy came up to me and I got angry and I was like, all right, fuck this. I went downstairs and I went to the front desk and I asked the guy behind the front desk, I said to him, listen, I got some fucking jokers upstairs that are bothering me. Like, they're asking me inane questions about this place that I have no idea how to answer, and I don't fucking work here. I'm a member. Would you mind taking care of this and getting these people to leave me alone? Because I'm trying to work out. And I said to him, listen, I don't like to be bothered. That's one of the things about working out. I'm in my own zone. If you wave to me or whatever else or ask me a quick question, do you know where the bathroom is or some shit like that, I'm more than willing to answer you, but I don't like to be bothered. I don't like to have people coming up to me. I don't like to be interrupted when I'm trying to concentrate and work out. Like, it's something that it nags at me. And so I asked him, like, can you go up there and handle this shit? And the guy completely blew me off. He was like, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. And it upset me. It got me angry. And I said, listen, go the fuck up there and take care of this for me or I'm out of here. Like, I said to him, and the thing is too about gyms, man, they're expensive. This gym was like I think it was $25 a month, somewhere around there. I'm like, listen, I pay a decent amount of money to come here. Go upstairs and take care of this fucking issue. I got people bothering me in a group, and I told them they're just trying to hassle me. Go up there and handle this, or I'm fucking out of here. And the guy laughed and walked away. And so I got changed and I left and I canceled my membership and I called the hotline and I screamed at the person that answered it and told them that I'll never be a member there again because the people that employ there are fucking cocksuckers and that they allow other members to harass people while they're trying to work out. And again, that's kind of embarrassing because it makes me look like the pussy because a man in that situation, well, I guess a less mature situation or a less mature person in this situation probably would have hit one of the guys in the face. But the thing is that I'm not that big, and I'm up against 5 black guys in a group, and I don't really feel like getting my ass beat because they're asking me stupid, annoying questions. So I went to the fucking people at the front desk, and like always, in my life, there's never been a time where it's not been the case. Any time I've gone to an authority figure in the case or some representative to do something on my behalf to de-escalate and deal with a situation, they blow me off completely, and it never ends in my favor. That's one of the reasons why I say in high school or in middle school or wherever, if you're in school and you're dealing with a bully, don't go to the principal, don't go to your teacher, don't go to any authority figure. Just hit that person in the face and deal with it right then and there. Even if you lose the fight, you'll learn a life lesson. You're better off to deal with it right in that situation than you are to rely on any other person, because any other person in that situation is going to fail you. They're going to obstruct you. They're going to give you bad advice. They're going to just make your life worse off than you would be to just hit that person in the face and deal with it right there and then. That way, if you're in that environment later on, those people know to not do it again. Very easy for most people to understand. People want to talk about violence and how that's a bad thing, but I still say that it is the most effective way to teach a person to not do what they're doing again. The only problem is that once you become an adult, you have a very higher chance of going to jail. That's the problem with becoming an adult, is that if you're in a situation where you have somebody that is fucking with you, and you basically have the choice of doing things the right way, quote unquote, or hitting that person in the face, you can't hit him in the face anymore. Then you have to go to the authority figure, and most of the time they're gonna fucking blow you off because they don't give a shit. So yeah, that was the last gym I went to, and it really put me off to the entire concept because I can't rely on anyone. I can't rely on fucking anyone to do anything. So yeah, there's my embarrassing personal story of why I don't go to a gym anymore. It really is kind of pathetic, and I'm aware of that. But like I said, I don't like to be bothered. But yeah, it's been, I mean, somebody mentioned it in the chat, but one of the things I don't like is, and it's very common for people that have had interactions, and this is definitely not true, obviously. And I've had, when I was in high school, I had a few black friends. I didn't really have very many. I had one friend in college who was a black female who was conservative. That was one of the few conservative friends I had in college was a black woman. But it's not true for all quote-unquote minorities, but that seems to be a thing. And maybe it's true for white guys as well as it deals with black men or people that are not white. Maybe it's just true. I do think there is, unfortunately, a racial factor in like bullying, where if you have a group of people of one race who all know one another and you see somebody of the opposite race, or of a different race, I should say, there seems to be this innate nature, or this innate like pressure to go fuck with that person. It's a matter of, oh, we're all white or we're all black, let's go fuck with that person that's not like one of us. And I think that's what that was, because that's not the only time that's happened to me. It's happened to me once when I was at Buff State, although it was a lot more mundane. And I don't really want to get into it, but I don't know if I really should get into that story or not, but I have a story where I had a bad interaction with a group of black kids, and I was actually right in the midst of let's say a member of the I don't want to say his title, but he at the time was a member of the Student Senate. Let's say that. So at Buff State, of which I was a member of the Student Senate, he was a member of the Student Senate as well. I don't want to say what his rank was because it makes it a lot easier to find out who he is. But I had a bad interaction with a group of black kids who were just some black kids on campus. And he was right there when it happened. And when him and I went back to a particular area of the campus where we were alone, and I don't want to say, but we were in a particular part of the campus, and it was just him and I. And this guy was definitely not a racist or anything else. Like his best friend was black. Like this is just a part of life. And he said to me, that's one of the things that I'm very wary of, being that I'm in this political body, is the fact that there's a decent number of black kids and they always seem to team up. And he said that's one of the things that you should be wary of now that you're here, is that, you know, be careful on the campus, because there are a few black people on this campus that are very tribalistic and that will be openly hostile towards you because you're white. And that was 2014, I want to say. And that was actually before I had my gym interaction. 2015 is when that gym story happened. But yeah, that was in 2014. And I just remember having a very frank conversation with that guy about race. And it was just really, for me, it was an awkward conversation. But it's just one of the things you have to deal with, is that, like, and that's, again, it's not unique to black people. I think it's just a racial thing. Like, it's one of the things that you just deal with, is that for whatever reason, when people of a certain mindset are all together and they're all the same skin color, they act in a very bad way sometimes. I see some people talking shit about me. Like I said, you know, I'm not. People know my personality at this point. You know, in terms of how I am, I'm very easy to get worked up. You know, that's just how I am. I see Taco Liquor asking if I'm going to go alt-right. No, like I said, I've seen white people do the same thing. When I was in high school, I saw a group of preppy white kids pick on a black kid for no other reason than he was black. And again, it's just that group dynamic. I've seen that happen, and I'm definitely not on board with that. So I'm not in favor of a mutual response just because some people in the world are shitty. So no, I'm not in favor of the alt-right. I'm not on board of joining them, quote unquote. People are saying becoming alt-right. No, it's not true. I just grew up in an area with that's very diverse, so to say. And I grew up with I live very close to a reservation, and I've never had any bad interactions with Native kids. Anyways, I've had some bad interactions with like Native adults in relation to my job. I've had a couple of cases on the res, and those were particularly bad. But you know, I wouldn't say that I'm really in any way a racist, and I don't really have a prejudice against pretty much anybody, I would say. I don't think there's any real one group that I have a prejudice against outside of maybe Muslims. Muslims may be the only group that I hold a distinct prejudice towards, in that I see enough issue with enough Muslims to say that they should not be in the United States. That is just based on behavior in Europe. It's not because, you know, I went to school with some Muslim kids who were Muslim specifically. I'm talking about Muslim, not Arab, because I think there's a distinct difference. I had an Arab friend when I was growing up, and I'm very much not a racist against Arabs, because people should remember that there are Middle Eastern Christians. So I think that's something people should keep in mind, especially people on the left. But I had a friend of mine growing up that was Arab, and I never had any problems with him. And he was very much the all-American that you could find. Born here, but his mother wasn't. But, you know, as it relates to Muslim, I think that Muslims, I just think that that's the oil and water, so to say, that there's no mixing, because they refuse to mix. It's not our fault, it's their fault. And so my answer is, all right, don't come here. Satchmo or Omega asks, have Muslims ever messed with you personally? I think I've already talked about that before. There's been a couple instances where I've had bad or neutral interactions with Muslims. Obviously, the neutral interactions are, you see some guy in the street, you interview some guy, some guy cashes you out, whatever. Those are all neutral interactions with Muslims that I've had. Or in school, when I was in high school, there was 2 Muslim girls, neutral interactions with them. Outside of those neutral interactions, the only other interactions I've had with Muslims personally have been negative. I had a group of Muslims, as I've said before, when I was working case, I had them like patrolling the area, like giving me shit, looking at me, not like throwing signs at me to some degree. Like, I don't even think they were gang signs, but just like throwing signs at me, like gesturing in my direction. I'm not even sure what they meant by it. It was a shitty car full of like 5 Muslim men, all Muslim men. It's not the only interaction that I've had with Muslims, especially if I work in Muslim areas. But you know, I've had plenty of bad interactions with people that weren't Muslim. But I can say that it's one of the things that, with me personally, it's either neutral or negative. So I haven't really had any personal experiences with Muslims that have been positive. Nothing to say that it can't happen in my lifetime, but you know, it doesn't really play much into my opinion on Muslims. I would say most of my opinion on Muslims is based on Europe and what's happened there, and I don't want what's happened there to happen here. So it should be excluded from here. Let's see here. Let's see here. People keep asking me about, somebody keeps asking about Civil War. I have nothing to say about American Civil War. I don't think we're anywhere close to that. As a white guy, I throw signs at skinny people from Buffalo too. That's great. I'm not even from Buffalo. I just live close to it. The Muslims where I live in the States aren't any trouble. Europe doesn't vet their immigrants and are known to be cucks, so European Muslims are way worse. They know they're held to standards. I guess maybe that's the case. I mean, there are Muslims in a few different parts of my area. The ones in Buffalo are the fucking worst. They live in fucking squalor. They're the ones that wear legit niqabs. I've seen Muslims in, I think it was Amherst. I want to say that it's like on the outskirts of Buffalo, but it's in a very, or it's near a place called Gettsville. There's a mosque out there, and I was out there one time, and a lot of those Muslims seem to be more middle class, even though you would think that they might be the more dangerous ones based on, you know, history and all that. But they seem to be more like, the women's aren't in niqabs. They have like colorful hijabs and stuff like that. So they may be the more moderate Muslims in the area. But the ones in fucking Buffalo wear fucking hijab or niqabs. Those are the radicals. And so it's like, those are the ones you know are going to be dangerous, especially the young men. They're going to be dangerous. So, you know, I would say that maybe it's a difference between living in like a rural area and living in an inner city. If that's the difference, I'm not sure. But I can tell you that there are some sketchy looking fucking Muslim guys in my area. And I see Mitch just posted something that says "Cucker right in the pussy" by Donald Trump. I agree. Down with Donald Trump. So let's we'll narrow this down, I would say, to 3 questions, just so we're not here all night. So we will narrow this down to 3 questions. We'll enter the lightning round, the finishing round of this stream, and then click it off. So if you have 3 questions or a question to ask, feel free to ask that. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue once I'm done, or continue drinking once I'm done with this stream, because I think I'm pretty bad at this point. Some time has passed, so it's starting to wear down a little bit. The bourbon was the worst. Holy shit. That hit me pretty hard. I'm not a big fan of it. I had rum and Coke, if I didn't already say, and bourbon and Coke. The bourbon had a bit more of an aftertaste, and it was a bit stronger than the rum. The rum was kind of gross, but yeah, I'll probably have to look up for something else other than Coke to drink those with, because they weren't that good. I don't give a shit about Hillary Clinton's book. What's my opinion on Slavs? Do you mean like the Eastern Europeans that wear track suits that are working class or poor? I don't really have much of an opinion on them because I'm not European, so that's pretty much all I can say. They're kind of goofy and funny, and they get into fights apparently all the time, but that's about it. Do I know any fedora tipping atheists? Not really. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, the friends that I have, I don't know if any of them are atheists. A few of them don't even go to church anymore, but they don't really talk much about religion. The only people that I knew that were atheists were in college, were in college specifically, and they were all very much on the left. The people that I knew in college that were conservative were all Christian. And the only people that I knew were atheists were on the left. And they were all distinctly leftist. Like, I don't think there was any bones about them being on the left. And that was pretty much what coincided with them being an atheist. It had a lot less to do with religion and a lot more to do with politics. Somebody asking about the video I'm going to do on Muslims in Buffalo. I'll get to it, you know. I got at least 2 other commentaries that I got to get out of the way. But I got the link saved. It's there. Have I ever cussed out a stranger? Yes, more than once. I've been in a couple circumstances where I've been in public, and I guess this is something that's socially unacceptable to do, but I've been in public a few times and cursed at people. One of the more, I mean, people can say whether it's cringy or not, like it's just me. And I've told this to people before. I don't even know if I should say this because I've actually distributed this story more than once in my actual real life. But there was a time, this was several years ago. This was probably freshman or sophomore year of college. So probably freshman. I want to say that this happened. I was at a McDonald's in my local area, and I'm trying to remember why I was being impatient, but I was impatient. So there's a line to order food, and what happened is that this, I think it was an old guy. I don't remember, like a guy in his 60s or 70s. I think that's who it was. I can't quite remember, but it was an older guy, and he comes up to the counter and cuts the line. It gets in front of the counter. There's only one person on the register, and he goes, I think he ordered a cherry pie, and they only had apple pies. And he said he wants his cherry pie. And the guy behind the counter says, well, I think, sir, that we're out of cherry pies. I think we only have the apple. And so he's raising his stink saying, well, I want my cherry pie. I want my cherry pie. I don't care. Go in the back, go find it, go cook it right now. I'm not walking away until you go get my cherry pie. I ordered a cherry. You said you have it. You gave me an apple. I want the cherry pie. And so the guy, he had the pie, and he took a bite of it. And the person behind the counter said, I know this story's not that great, but somebody asked, and I'm counting this as one of the questions. So the guy took a bite out of the pie, and they said they couldn't return it. So he said he says, if you don't have it, I want my money back. And if you don't know, pies at McDonald's are 50 cents. So he's demanding a refund, and they're saying to him that he can't get a refund because he took a bite out of it, blah, 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 which I'm not even sure was true. I think as far as I know, the policy is they should have given him a refund or fucking whatever. But I was probably 4 people deep in the line. There was 4 people in front of me, and everyone's just sitting there oh my God, can we please? They're groaning audibly, they're waiting for this guy to shut up and go away. And I'm talking about minutes and minutes and minutes are passing. It's been 10 minutes that this guy's at the front of the line complaining about a pie. So I walk up to the front. I take $1 out of my wallet. I throw the dollar at his chest, and I say, there's your money. Get the fuck out of the line. Get the fuck out of the line. Get out of the way. Shut the fuck up and go away. And I got really angry. And again, and this is one of the rare times that I think I actually intimidated somebody, even though I don't think of myself as very intimidating, just because I came out of nowhere. I threw something at him, and I told him right to his face to get the fuck away from the counter. And that is unfortunately one of the parts of being an angry person, is that you have a hair trigger temper, and you are naturally impatient. And I was getting increasingly tired of the fact that you have somebody giving 10 minutes worth of fucking grievance to some minimum wage worker at McDonald's to give him a fucking cherry pie or a refund on his apple pie that he ate part of. So yes, that is, it's been more than once. It's been more than once that I've had that kind of confrontation at. It's actually, I think it's not always been at a food place, but the times that it has happened, it has actually been somewhere serving food. I have another story where I was at a Tim Hortons where I cursed out a woman, but that was actually more defendable. And this is something that's happened more than once, where I've been in a situation where somebody, and it's been more than once, where it's been somebody giving a ton of shit to a cashier, where it's then them just being derogatory, just being really demeaning to the person behind the counter, being really insulting. And I basically just insult them back and say, you know, the one time at Tim Hortons it was this fat white woman, and she was giving shit to the person behind the counter, insulting him, calling him stupid, saying that if he can't actually do his job, that, you know, if he's, I forget what it was. It was like something like if he's so special ed that he should have a helper help him along, or maybe he should go mop or broom the parking lot or something like that, something to that extent. And she was very loud about it, very obnoxious. And I basically said, why don't you get out of here, you fat bitch? Like, no one gives a shit what you think, something like that. And that isn't socially acceptable to do. That's something that's a faux pas. You shouldn't do that. People don't like people doing that kind of thing. But it's something where I don't like people being behind the counter because I worked retail. I don't like people being bullied. I don't like people being talked down to. And if you do that kind of thing in front of me, more than likely, if I'm already in a bad mood or you say something that pisses me off, I'm going to give you shit. I'm going to insult you right back, or 10 times as bad. And I'm going to put pressure on you to just leave and try to embarrass you. Some would say that that's a redeeming quality about me because I was thanked in that scenario. But the McDonald's one, that was a bit more awkward and probably one can argue is cringy in terms of me. But that's just my anger. But in terms of I will defend the Tim Hortons situation where I defended the cashier and insulted that fat woman because she was, people, if you've been in retail, you've experienced this. And if you've been in enough social situations, you've seen this. There are people out there that are incredibly hostile in a way where they are super derogatory, obnoxious, just insulting and degrading. And I can't stand that. And because I don't give a shit, you don't know where I work, you don't know what I do, you don't know who I am, all the rest, I will insult you to your face because I don't fucking care. I have a bad temper and I don't care, and I don't like bullies. I don't like bullies. I don't like people being degraded. I don't like people working at a shit job, making minimum wage, being degraded in that way. I don't give a shit who you are, you fat bitch. I will insult you to your face, and you won't do shit about it. Because here's a life lesson from me. Life lesson from Louis Le Vau in 2017, and it'll be true forever until the day you die. Most people that you will run into in life are fucking pussies. That's my experience. Most people you will deal with are pussies. So if you step up to them, they will back down. If they are insulting somebody else or bullying somebody else or harassing somebody else, or even if it's you, if you step up and challenge them, they will back down. That's been my experience. And so that's why I say earlier about, if you're in high school or middle school and you're dealing with a bully, to throw the punch, same kind of thing once you're an adult. If you step up, most people will back down because most people are pussies. That's my experience. Maybe that's not true. Maybe one day and I've been told by my parents, especially by my father, I've been told by friends, one day I'm going to challenge somebody who's going to be a fucking taekwondo fighter or a fucking MMA fighter, and I'm going to get my ass beat. Maybe that's going to be the case sometime. But so long as I have to deal with people being shitty to other people or shitty to me, I'm not going to back down. And I'm going to confront people. And I'm not going to be intimidated or bullied or anything else. And even if that ends in me getting my ass kicked, so be it. I'm not going to live in the shadow of anybody else being a bully towards me. I'm not going to be a pussy. Better to get knocked out than to be a pussy or a coward. That's my position on life. Feel free to disagree. Sorry, I kind of rambled on for a while there, but I'm also a bit. I'm becoming increasingly less, or increasingly less. I'm becoming less intoxicated as things go on, but I'm still a bit intoxicated. Shit. I gotta catch up to the chat. All right, so that was one question, I believe. So we're now down to two. I'm not answering any fucking questions about fucking feudalism. Go away with your questions about fucking feudalism. Alex Demering, whatever the fuck, says, I worked at a Walmart photo center. Some dumb cunt's daughter asked for her mom's photos. I couldn't find them right away, and she said she couldn't wait. Lol, as if she had anywhere to go. And then she said, you cut off there. I'm interested in your story. Many people that have worked in the lower end of retail, shit like that, service jobs, everyone knows what that's like. It's awful. So yeah, I worked retail for like 3 or 4 years, and it was brutal. I hated it, and I'll never go back to it. I'll never work in food service. I'll never work in retail again. I'd rather live on the fucking streets than do that again. It was terrible. Oh God, some people are calling me a manlet. That's not fair. That's not fair. I'm 5'10". I'm not that short. I think that in order to be a manlet, like, I am thin, so maybe you can give me shit for that. I think that that's what qualifies people as a manlet technically, but I'm not that short. 5'10" is not that short. If I was like 5'7" or whatever, maybe then you could call me a manlet, but I don't think I'm at that level. Why do you hate Mr. House? I don't give a shit about fucking. I was about to say Far Cry, Fallout 4 or Fallout 4, Fallout in Vegas. Lewis, how many goats for your firstborn half Asian daughter? I'm sorry, I'm going to keep my half Asian daughter. You can't trade me your goats. There's no amount of goats in which I'll. Is Lord and Southern part, and this is by Mitch, is Lord and Southern part of the retrograde right? So if you don't listen, guys, if you didn't listen to the rant that I went on yesterday in yesterday's stream, I talked a lot about the retrograde right and how the short version is that I think that members of the retrograde right are authoritarian conservatives who once the lunatic left dies out or goes away enough, that the mask of liberalism that they all don will go away and they will become authoritarian conservatives. I would say that Lord and Southern would be if she was more of something approaching like a pundit or a public intellectual. If she was somebody that on a regular basis dealt with like the media and was on shows and was giving speeches and doing that kind of things, I would say that she probably, I would grade her as somebody on the retrograde right, but I don't really know enough about her. I don't really know enough about her content, and the content I have seen of her has been focusing around liberal issues, and by that I mean classical liberal issues. The question is, if those issues went away, if they were no longer challenged by the left, would the mask come off? With Lauren, I don't know. I have some people, I've seen people say yes because of her flirting with the European, quote unquote, white identity movements that are there. I don't know if that would be the thing that would show evidence to say that she would become an authoritarian conservative. But I mean, I've had people come to me and argue that, but I don't know because I don't know enough about her content. The true challenge is once the liberal issues go away. That's the ultimate challenge for people that are conservative. I know there definitely are conservatives that are principled, that are liberal in that sense, that they wouldn't turn authoritarian, they wouldn't use the same tactics and all the rest. But with Lauren, I don't know, honestly. No denigration to her, I just don't know. All right, so that's going to be question 2. So we're down to the last question. Last question. And oh, I did watch your libertarian video. That was actually, I have to say, if you haven't seen it already, fucking Lord and Southern did this video where it was nothing more than a takedown of libertarianism. It was great. It was actually pretty great. I loved it. I have to say that. But that doesn't actually negate her from being like part of the retrograde right. That may even be evidence towards it. But I really, really like that takedown video she did of libertarianism, because I'm definitely somebody that, like, if you're a libertarian, I'm not saying anything against you, but you have a whole lot of baggage with your quote-unquote movement. And if you ask me, and I've talked to Sargon about this, and as far as I know, he agrees with this, that I think libertarianism as a, not just even just a movement, but as a philosophy, I think it's dying. I think libertarianism is dying. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be dead tomorrow, but I think libertarianism is dying. That doesn't mean something better is going to replace it, but and people say, though, it's the left and all that. That's the fault for libertarians. I mean, it's up to you. Who, you know, I'm not a libertarian. I've never been a libertarian. So it's up to the libertarians to decide who ruined libertarianism. But I think that it's honestly going the way of people are saying it's like atheism plus. It's being drowned out by ridiculous voices, and it's dying. And I would agree with that. I do think it is dying. And I'm, you know, I have to say, I'm not, again, I have libertarian people that follow me. I'm not trying to say that with your philosophy that, you know, fuck you or anything else. Absolutely not. I'm more than willing to engage with you. And I think that you're fine with your own beliefs and that you're largely innocuous with your beliefs, unlike a lot of other people. So I'm not disparaging you, but I do think that this is kind of the natural course of any utopian philosophy, or of an ideology, more specifically. Any group of people that are based around a utopian ideology are going to go this route. They are going to fail. And I think that this is just kind of, if it wasn't what's going on now, it would have been something else eventually. And that what's happening now would have happened. And then boom, it's over. So yeah. If you, I'm not going to link it, but yeah, go to Lauren Southern's channel, check out that fucking libertarian takedown video. It's great. Here's a question. Actually, was that I don't remember. No, I guess it's not really a question. Somebody asked really quickly, is atheism dying? I think that was a meme by Paul Joseph Watson. That's actually incorrect. If you just look at the numbers alone, that's false. Maybe atheism as a movement, quote unquote, in the United States is not doing well currently, but that doesn't change the numbers that are currently coming out. And as things continue to progress, the country is becoming less and less theistic. So I don't know what people want to say to me. You know, atheism, if atheism as a belief is shrinking, or atheism in terms of positing that, you know, I self-describing as an atheist as opposed to saying I'm not religious, so long as atheism in that regard is growing, then I don't know what to say to people saying that's quote unquote dying. Oh, shit. Atheism will die if Muslims conquer us. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about that in the past, but that's one of the reasons why I'm very much opposed to fucking Muslims and Islam, is the fact that, you know, I'm going to be one of the first people on the chopping block, and no one's going to defend me because I'm a white man. So what can I do? You know, it's either oppose the Muslims coming in, or I'm the first guy in the chopping block to be killed because I'm an atheist, and because I'm a white male, no one's going to fucking defend me. So You know, I have to act on my own self-interest and my own self-preservation. And one of the threats that I see to my own self-preservation isn't the fucking conservatives listening to me in the stream now. Ooh, the big scary conservatives. Ooh, doing absolutely fucking nothing. No, it's the Muslims. It's the Muslims. They're the ones that are lopping the heads off of fucking cartoonists, of critics, and of atheists. Or anyone that gets in their way, civilian or otherwise. So no thanks. And that's the thing. The people that are atheists that are on the left that think they're going to be spared, you're fucking nuts. You're going to be one of the first ones on the fucking chopping block. It's honestly one of the canards of like people that are atheists that are on the left. It's like, ooh, the conservatives. It's like, yeah, there's some like secular there's some issues with secularism in the United States and some differences between the conservatives and some bad spots that they have on collective rights rather than recognizing individual rights, and it's too much tied into their own identity. I would agree there. But the idea of like, I'm going to walk down the streets and there's going to be some fucking conservative. There's going to be some black church going conservative. There's going to be some white church going conservative that's like, hey, you, boy, are you a fucking atheist? Oh, come on over here. We're going to lynch you. It's like, no, that's never going to happen. Take me to the most religious fucking county in the country. It's probably going to be a county of white people. And I'm going to go around and say, hey, I'm an atheist. And they're going to go, oh, man, I really disagree with you. You're probably going to go to hell. I really disagree with you. You need to go find God, boy. That's going to be the fucking extent of what happens. I can go fucking 15 miles to Buffalo, go find some fucking Muslims, hear that it's, now in the early a.m., it's 12:04 a.m., go find a random Muslim in Buffalo, go, hey, by the way, I'm an atheist. You won't hear from me again. Because that's their religion. That's so ingrained in their religion, and that's a fact. That is a fact. Don't even give me that shit as though that is not a major fucking part of Islam. Islamism is being openly fucking hostile and violent towards the apostate, which is atheists. Just give me that. Just try me on that. Because you're not getting 1 inch past me on that bullshit. It isn't going to be the American conservative. Oh, he's wearing a MAGA hat. He's so dangerous. No, it's going to be the fucking Muslim. Don't even, spare me the bullshit. I met some people are talking about Kiernoth says that wherever your comment was, if I tell a Christian I'm an atheist, the worst I'm going to get is just some mean words. Yeah, pretty much. They're going to get upset. They're going to say, oh man, you're destined to hell, or you're a degenerate, or whatever else. It depends on how they interpret, what they think an atheist is. But you're going to get some mean words. That's the worst you can expect. Maybe some hostile attitudes from some Christians. Those are some of the most radical ones in the country. Oh, you're an atheist? Oh, I don't like you. Oh, get out of here, you godless person. Oh, man. That's so terrible. Oh, man. But anyways, let's get to one last question to end this. Okay, so I guess we'll end on Psycho Hands, who asked this question. If religion is dying, do you think we will see more ideologies emerging? I wouldn't say. I would say that that religion in the United States is in many ways degrading. I know people would classify it, and maybe I just said it's dying. I'm not too sure if I just said that or not. But if I did, I would rephrase it and say that it's degrading. If Christians are smart, they will try to play off of the idea of cultural Christianity. That's something that has actually been effective in Japan specifically. I would say that that's something they should play to. Maybe not try to duplicate it, because obviously it comes from a difference from an individualistic society versus a collectivist society. But I would say that try to have the idea of, I don't even know if a Christian country would be the right way of handling it, like making that the case for that. But I would basically make the case that our worldview as Westerners, as liberals, people that agree with free speech and you know, the right to bear arms and all the rest, all of our rights, right to not to privacy, but to protection of your documentation, fucking whatever, you know, all the rights that we take for granted and all the rest, that is the natural progression of being Christian. And so it's worth recognizing and retaining a cultural Christian perspective. I think that is pretty much where you're going to try to argue for retaining Christianity in the West, or at least in the United States. I'm not saying that that's going to be effective, but I don't, like, what's being tried now isn't working. It definitely isn't. Every single year, the United States becomes less religious. Every single year, people are turning away from the more mainstream churches. Every single year, that's the case. It gets worse and worse and worse for religion in the United States. The percentage of atheists, self-avowed atheists, is growing very slowly, but it is growing. And so, like again, I don't really, I can't, I'm probably too biased to give proper advice in regards to how to, like, a long-term plan for Christianity in the United States and for Christians that want to keep Christianity. But I would say that you're going to have to change something. You're going to have to find a new strategy. You know, maybe there is some room for, like, more orthodox or fundamentalist kind of Christians in the United States, but you're going to have to accept that that's going to be a fringe group in society. And eventually the majority of the population, even a more conservative population, as you know, you see with the new generation, they're not more religious. I've seen statistics based on the new generation, they are not more religious than millennials. They are not. So what can you do? When even conservatives, or a more conservative on average generation, is coming up, they're not more religious than the millennials, which they skew very much irreligious and towards the left. If overall every generation coming up is becoming less and less religious, I can't really give you an answer. But you're going to have to change strategies if you want to see things remain. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily a positive thing. Like, I don't even really give a shit about atheism versus Christianity. I really do not give a shit. The thing that I care more about than anything as it relates to religion is a clear separation between church and state. I do not want the state subsidizing churches. I do not want any integration between church and state on any level. I don't care if it's the military with the chaplains or anything else. I want a fundamental and overt and recognized separation between church and state. And that is my primary concern. If you listening to this are a Christian or not, I really do not fucking care. It's up to you what you believe. If you believe or don't believe, even if you don't believe, I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care what you believe. I think that as it relates to the question of the existence of God and faith, it's up to the person. It's up to the individual. I have my conclusion. You can have yours. I don't care. Like, it's up to you what you believe. It doesn't make any difference to me what you believe or don't believe. You know, what you think there's sufficient evidence of or not. It doesn't matter to me. The only thing that I care about is the separation between church and state. Because I think that in our society and as a country, it undermines this country and our society to have any form of integration as it relates to church and state. Because if you look at every nation in this world that is worse than this country, other than well-established state religions such as the UK, we don't have that here. So outside of examples like that, any country that blurs the lines is worse off. It is a worse country, period. The exceptions are countries like the UK that have had a state that have Anglicanism, that is a state-recognized religion, has been for a very, very, very long time, and no one fucking takes it seriously. I'm not English, so I can't really understand it fully, but that seems to be how it is. You have a state-recognized religion that no one fucking takes seriously. Way, way more atheists in the UK than there are here in the United States. Or even, let's just make it specific to England. Way more than there is in the United States. So state-recognized religion in that case obviously didn't work out. But the issue is here in the United States, if you had any kind of recognition in the United States or a blurring of the lines, that I don't think is going to be, it's not going to better anyone's situation, whether it's religious people or, ideologues or people that don't believe or secularists. It won't better anyone's station. It won't. It'll just make things more divisive and worse. The only entities or people that will benefit from a blurring of the lines and the decay of secularism in the United States will be the churches, the people working at the churches. Not you, the believer, understand this, not the believer, but the people working at the churches. If the churches can get handouts, they can get tax exemptions, they can get fucking subsidies, they can get all the rest, they can get recognition, they can get promotion. That just helps the church. It doesn't help the believer, it doesn't help the belief, it doesn't help the religion, it doesn't help the society, it doesn't help anyone other than the entity. That's who it helps. Think of it as a corporation getting state subsidies. It doesn't help you, helps the institution. That's who it helps. So, and I see a lot of fucking people that lean right trying to fight for that kind of thing, trying to get the government to prop up religion. And in my opinion, it's not a good tactic to pursue, and it's detrimental for everyone involved. And that's where I care. Again, you believe, your parents believe, your grandmother believes, you go to church, all the rest. Nothing to do with me. None of my business. Is all your business. And we can just agree to disagree in terms of faith. That's it. That's all it needs to be. But in terms of any involvement of the government, that's where I draw the line, and I'm not tolerant of in any way. So I guess we will end it there unless there's any more last second questions. Let's see here. I'm just going to skim through really quick just to see if there's anything. This appears to be a lot of bullshit. All right. I guess we're just going to end this shit. Let me double check Super Chat before we go. Okay, there's nothing else. All right, so thanks for stopping by. Be sure to check out the affiliates in the description. I'll try to link everything after this and also try to come up with a name for this. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening. Be sure to support me on Patreon and all the rest, and I'll try to make this a fairly regular thing. Thanks for stopping by.